The story begins in a city in Los Angeles, where something strange suddenly grabs everyone's attention. People discover a massive mark on the ground, so large that it looks as if a giant creature once passed through that path. The police begin investigating the site, but no one can figure out how the mark appeared. For now, it remains a complete mystery. Just then, a reporter named Ethan arrives at the scene, determined to uncover the truth. However, as soon as he gets there, government officials order him to leave the area. While walking away, Ethan notices something half buried in the dirt, a mark that looks almost like shed snake skin. The moment he sees it, old memories start flooding his mind. He recalls seeing something very similar during his childhood. At the same time, the ancient divine locket hanging around his neck begins to feel strange, as if reacting to something. And with that, the story suddenly shifts 15 years into the past. Back then, Ethan was just a young boy. He had come to an antique shop with his father, who was there to sell an old sword. While wandering around the shop, Ethan notices a mysterious box. As soon as he approaches it, the box opens on its own. A bright light bursts out from the scale inside the box and enters Ethan's body. The shop owner, Jack, watches all of this in shock. To hide what just happened, Jack pretends to have a heart attack in front of Ethan's father. Panicking, Ethan's father rushes to call an ambulance, but Jack insists instead that he go to a nearby shop to bring some medicine. In reality, Jack wants to speak to Ethan alone. As soon as Ethan's father leaves, Jack begins telling Ethan an ancient legend, the story of giant serpents known as the Imugi. According to the legend, every 500 years, one Imugi is given the chance to become a spiritual dragon, but only if it has lived a life of pure goodness. But during this process, a girl is born, one who carries a powerful spiritual energy known as Yahiju within her. Only by obtaining this energy can an Imugi finally transform into a dragon. As with every story, there is a villain, and in this one, his name is Baraki. He has always tried to steal the Yahiju energy, and this time is no different. However, on this occasion, the heavens send that spiritual energy to a city in Korea. To protect it, a guardian named Haram is always on alert, standing beside his master, Buchan. But Baraki eventually learns the location of the energy and begins hunting for it. Jack then tells Ethan that 500 years ago, a girl named Naren was born into the royal family of a Korean city. She had a dragon-shaped mark on her shoulder. Master Buchan revealed to the king that when Naren turned 20 years old, the spiritual energy would awaken within her. As time passed, Naren grew up. To protect her, Buchan assigned his student Haram to stay by her side at all times. But as the days went by, Naren slowly fell in love with Haram. Not long after, Haram's master, Buchan, finally revealed the truth to him. He took Haram to the seashore and showed him a dragon, one that was destined to become a spiritual dragon. At that moment, Buchan gave Haram a divine locket, the very same locket that Ethan is wearing at the beginning of the story. At that very moment, Baraki, who had been waiting for centuries to obtain this spiritual energy, launched a full-scale attack on the city with his entire army. His soldiers slaughtered countless people and searched every woman, all for one reason, to find Naren. When Naren was finally discovered, her father was brutally killed right in front of her eyes. As Baraki's army began dragging Naren away, Master Buchan stepped in to save her. Using his powerful magic, he attacked Baraki's forces, rescued Naren, and sent her away with Haram. Haram fled with Naren and hid near a cave. There, he revealed the truth about her destiny and the true purpose of her life. Sometime later, Master Buchan, badly injured but still alive, managed to escape. While fleeing, he noticed Haram's divine locket lying on the path, lost during the chaos. Buchan himself had been wounded while trying to protect Naren. As Haram continued to run with Naren, Baraki returned once again, closing in on them. Eventually, Haram reached the edge of a towering cliff. As Baraki moved forward to capture them, Haram and Naren made a final decision. They leapt into the ocean together, sacrificing their lives so that the spiritual energy would never fall into Baraki's hands. After finishing the story, Jack reveals the shocking truth to Ethan, that he himself is the reincarnation of Master Buchan, and Ethan is Haram, reborn and given a second chance to correct the mistakes of the past. Jack tells Ethan that he must now find a girl named Sarah, the one who carries the same dragon birthmark on her shoulder. Back in the present day, after all these memories come rushing back, Ethan immediately goes to his friend Bruce and asks for help finding Sarah. But Bruce points out that just knowing her name isn't enough. There are thousands of girls named Sarah in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, Sarah herself is watching the news on TV, which is covering the mysterious markings found on the ground. She can't fully understand what's happening, but despite that, she begins to feel a deep sense of unease. Without even saying goodbye to her friend, she suddenly heads back home. Once there, Sarah starts going through old books, filled with centuries-old prophecies. Sometime later, when her friend Brandy comes to visit, she is shocked to see that Sarah has covered the house with paper talismans, as if she's trying to ward off some dark presence. Brandy tells her that the fear she's feeling is just in her head, but Sarah's anxiety only keeps growing. That same night, Sarah's fears begin to turn into reality. Boraki, the ancient serpent, arrives in Los Angeles, rampaging through the city, destroying everything in his path and terrifying the people. At one point, he even kills an elephant at a zoo. That night, Sarah is haunted by terrifying nightmares, and she begins to feel intense pain in her shoulder. Panicked, she calls an ambulance and is rushed to the hospital. When Brandy finds out that Sarah has been admitted, she immediately goes to see her, but the receptionist stops her, explaining that visiting hours are already over. After that, Brandy goes to Sarah's house to pick up some clothes for her. While she's there, her boyfriend suddenly arrives. The two of them are talking inside the room when, all of a sudden, the ground starts to shake. When they step outside, they see Boraki approaching. The moment Brandy realizes what it is, she screams in terror and tries to run. But before she can escape, the massive serpent grabs her and throws her into the swimming pool, killing her instantly. The next morning, Ethan receives a report that a young woman has been killed in a giant serpent attack. Hearing this, his heart starts pounding, because the location mentioned in the report is Sarah's home address. Deep down, Ethan fears that the girl who died might be Sarah. However, when he reaches the scene and sees the body, he realizes the truth. The victim is not Sarah. Sarah's neighbors then tell him that she had already been taken to the hospital before the attack. The moment Ethan hears this, he doesn't waste a second and rushes toward the hospital. But at the reception desk, he stopped. A nurse informs him that Sarah has been placed in quarantine because there's a wound on her shoulder that could lead to a serious infection. Unable to meet Sarah, Ethan grows increasingly anxious and begins looking for another way to get inside the hospital. While searching for another way inside, Ethan runs into a doctor who turns out to be a huge fan of his reporting. The doctor secretly leads Ethan to Sarah's room. When Ethan enters, he sees Sarah sitting quietly on the bed. Ethan finally tells her the truth. The fear she's been feeling is real, and this place is no longer safe. He warns her that they must leave immediately because the monster Boraki has already reached the hospital. Just then, the doctor rushes back to them, urging them to escape right away. Trusting him, Ethan heads toward the exit gate with Sarah. During their escape, another shocking truth is revealed. The doctor is actually Jack, the same man Ethan met in his childhood, who has been protecting both of them all along. Ethan and Sarah manage to reach Bruce's car, and Bruce floors the accelerator, speeding away as the massive serpent smashes everything in its path while chasing them. They barely manage to escape the hospital grounds, but Boraki is still following them. While driving, Bruce suddenly hits a man on the road and slams on the brakes. When they step out to check, they realize the truth. The man is actually one of Boraki's generals, sent specifically to capture Sarah. Ethan and Bruce try to stop him, but every attempt fails against the general's magical armor. Suddenly, another car comes speeding in and slams into the general, knocking him down. A woman steps out, quickly pulls Ethan and Sarah into her car, and drives them away. After checking if they're safe, she drops them off at a secure location. Then, right before their eyes, she transforms back into Jack, proving once again that he's still watching over them. After everything that happens, Ethan and Sarah go to the beach. Sarah is still deeply confused. Her dreams and visions have become a terrifying puzzle, making her feel like she might be losing her mind. Seeing this, Ethan suggests that she visit a psychology professor, someone who specializes in unlocking repressed memories. Ethan promises Sarah that he will always stand by her side. In that moment, the two of them share a kiss on the beach. But deep inside, Ethan is hiding a terrible fear. If Sarah truly is the protector of the Yahiju energy, then her destiny may be death itself. Meanwhile, the constant attacks happening across the city finally alert the government. They begin to suspect that Sarah is the reason the monster has come to Los Angeles. During a briefing, the mission commander tells his officers that if the situation spirals out of control, they may have no choice but to terminate Sarah. On the other side, Baraki's general uses ancient scrolls to summon new monsters into the world. Soon, he commands an entire monster army, all with one mission: to capture Sarah. By now, the government has also deployed its Special Forces unit to eliminate Baraki at his cave. But the moment the joint creature reveals its true form before them, the soldiers are overwhelmed with fear and begin to flee. Even after exiting the cave, they open fire on the massive serpent, but the bullets have no effect at all. Baraki's general then wipes them out completely using powerful magical attacks. At the same time, the professor begins extracting Sarah's suppressed memories. Slowly, memories from her childhood, and even from her previous lives, start returning. As this happens, Sarah's spiritual powers awaken, and a radiant light begins to glow all around her. Ethan watches in shock as the light spreads. When Sarah finally regains consciousness, her face shows clear signs of exhaustion and fear. But as her strength returns, the inner light within her continues to grow. However, that light doesn't just awaken her memories, it also awakens Baraki. Baraki uses this surge of energy to track their exact location, leaving Ethan and Sarah with no choice but to run. They rush out of the house and try to escape by car, but Baraki, blinded by rage, chases them relentlessly, tearing apart the streets as he moves forward. By sheer luck, they make it into a residential area, where Ethan calls Bruce and asks him to arrange a helicopter, knowing that staying on the ground is no longer safe. Shortly after, they meet Bruce at a restaurant. He hands them essential supplies and tells them that a helicopter is waiting on the rooftop of their news building. But Baraki is far from done. He launches a brutal attack on the very building where Ethan and Sarah are hiding, smashing through everything in his path to reach them. Seeing this, Ethan and Sarah run once again. Just then, the police arrive and open fire on the serpent, drawing its attention away from them. This gives Ethan and Sarah a small window of time to reach the news building, but Baraki continues chasing them, devastating the city as he goes. People flee in terror. Cars are tossed into the air, flames rage everywhere, and chaos engulfs the streets. Despite all of this, Ethan and Sarah somehow manage to reach the rooftop, where the helicopter is waiting. The helicopter begins to lift off, but at that very moment, Baraki arrives and clamps onto it with his massive jaws. Forced to act fast, Ethan and Sarah jump from the helicopter. Seconds later, the chopper crashes and explodes behind them. Dark clouds fill the sky as Baraki lets out a thunderous roar, celebrating his victory. Just as he is about to devour Sarah, the US military arrives in time. Fighter aircraft and tanks unleash a storm of missiles upon Baraki. Enraged, the serpent roars and smashes several military helicopters out of the sky, but the overwhelming assault finally forces him down to the ground. Meanwhile, the serpent's monster and dragon army storms into the city and begins launching fireballs at the human forces. One helicopter after another crashes from the sky. On the ground, monsters bombard the police with explosive attacks, turning the entire city into a full-scale battlefield. Amid the chaos, Ethan and Sarah manage to escape the building. Outside, they encounter several government agents, who claim they are there to help. The agents escort them to a secret underground facility. Once inside, a senior officer tells Ethan that he is aware of the ancient prophecy. He admits that the government's plan was to kill Sarah in order to end the chaos once and for all. But before he can say anything else, another agent suddenly shoots his own teammate, creating an opening for Ethan and Sarah to escape. Handing them a key, the agent tells them that Sarah must stay alive, because the future of the world now rests in her hands. Ethan and Sarah head toward the Mexican border, but along the way, Sarah tells him that no matter where she goes, Baraki will always find her. Before they can say more, several dragons attack their car with fireballs. The vehicle flips violently, and Ethan is knocked unconscious. When Ethan finally wakes up, he realizes he's tied to a pillar, surrounded by Baraki's terrifying army. Sarah is dragged onto a raised platform and bound to a stone altar, prepared as a sacrifice for Baraki. As Baraki's soldiers chant his name loudly, a massive gate slowly opens. From within, Baraki emerges. The moment Sarah sees him, she screams in terror. Bound and helpless, Ethan can do nothing but scream her name as well. The moment Ethan screams her name, the locket around his neck begins to glow, releasing a blinding, lightning-like light. A massive bolt of lightning crashes down from the sky, turning the entire monster army to ash. Moments later, Baraki rises once again. Enraged, he hurls Ethan aside and moves towards Sarah. But just then, another serpent appears. Its name is Imugi. The moment it arrives, it slams Buraki to the ground, throwing him far away. A brutal battle erupts between the two. During the fight, Buraki sinks his fangs into Imugi's neck. Seeing this, Sarah realizes the truth. To save the world from evil, she must sacrifice herself. She releases the Yahiju energy from within her and sends it into the sky. As Buraki rushes toward the glowing energy, Sarah redirects it toward Imugi, who swallows it. The instant Imugi absorbs Yahiju, his body begins to transform. He sheds his old skin and ascends into a true spiritual dragon. Letting out a thunderous roar, the dragon charges straight at Buraki. Buraki fights back desperately, but he is no match for Imugi's newfound power. The dragon unleashes a massive fireball directly into Buraki's mouth, burning him from the inside out until he is reduced to ashes. After centuries of struggle, Imugi finally wins the war. The dragon then approaches Sarah and gently returns the Yahiju to her. Sarah's soul transforms into a radiant light and merges with the energy. Imugi rises into the sky, circling once before disappearing into the clouds. Watching Sarah vanish before his eyes, tears stream down Ethan's face. Just then, Jack appears behind him and says, "You did the right thing." With those words, Jack too fades away, carried off by the wind. Though Ethan is left alone, he has opened the door to a new world, one where the future of humanity now rests in human hands. And with that, the story comes to an end. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it. And if this is your first time on the channel, make sure to subscribe, because I regularly bring you such interesting and exciting stories. Until next time, I'll see you in another amazing video. Take care and goodbye.